How's it going, everyone? Welcome to my video. For today's video, we are going to be looking at a game played between two 1300s. This was a game I saw, a random game I saw on some chess.com community forum, and I thought it was a pretty significant game because, as you saw from the thumbnail, one side fell for an Eric Rosen style trap. I say Eric Rosen style. I assume that a lot of these crazy gambits these days are just being attributed to Eric Rosen. I did research, though, and he has talked about it, so I do believe it is a proper attribution, and was able to come back anyway. So, with that being said, these players, since this was from a random post, they probably have no idea that I am doing this, but hopefully they will be pleasantly surprised with an instructive game published to YouTube. And yeah, that's just another thing I want to mention, is that I'm going to do more game sort of review, game analysis, not just of my own games, but of other people's games of different rating ranges. So if you want games submitted and would love for me to review them on the channel, please feel free to, you can put a comment, you can DM me on like chess.com, or you can join my Discord, which there will be a link in the description. With that said, we will give a toast with our LaCroix. Alright, that's probably pretty awkward, and get into it. So, after d4, black plays the move pawn to e5. And this is not the Eric Rosen gambit, but it's a pretty common gambit to where you're poaching white to take the pawn, and there are all sorts of traps associated with it. Taking the pawn is fine. What transpires is after d6, e takes d6, black plays the move knight e7. And knight e7 might just be the type of move, it looks like a blunder, it looks like you're just hanging the knight, what's going on? So after white takes the knight, which is what they apparently haven't watched enough Eric Rosen, black is able to play the move bishop takes f2. Bishop takes f2, the point being that the queens see each other, and the king is not able to maintain protection of the queen. So after bishop takes f2, white just ended up taking, and black played queen takes d1. So black is up a queen for some pieces, for a considerable amount of pieces, but black is doing very well. However, that's not the end of the story. There's a very small chance that this would be in a game analysis if black just won the queen and rolled over their opponent. So we'll see what happened. White played the move bishop f4. Already here, black played a move I didn't think they needed to play, queen d7. It seems perfectly reasonable to sort of go after the pawn with the queen without forfeiting your castling rights. I just think your queen is so well placed on the d1 square. The queen's not really going to be attacked anytime soon. You can always even take this pawn, for instance. So I really didn't see, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think a move like knight c6 would have been better, for instance, so you can recapture this way. And you might also have some, like, attacking ideas with the knight. So anyway, black played the move queen d7, white played e3, queen takes e7, bishop e2, both sides sort of developing their pieces. And so here is where things start to get interesting. If you're up a queen, you don't really want things to get interesting. You want to roll over your opponent, right? Or you want to sort of outplay them. Things get interesting here when black plays the move knight to b4. Now, knight b4 is a move I'm not a big fan of. Yes, it does attack the c2 pawn. It attacks the c2 pawn, but there's not a whole lot of substance to it. In fact, if white just plays the move pawn to a3 and black were to take, then after a move like rook c1, the knight would be trapped, actually. The knight would have nowhere to go. So at that, you're barely threatening to take the pawn. And in fact, a3 is the top engine move, because after a move like knight a6, white can play a move like knight d5, attacking the queen, and putting pressure here as well. So after knight to b4, white decided, I'm down a queen, I'm not just going to like sit on my hands, I see an opportunity, I'm going to attack, I'm going to play knight b5. And knight b5 is a move I like, so we'll give an exclamation point. And yeah, the idea is that you're just attacking c7. What I would prefer for black to do, by the way, is I think black just needs to finish their development. Because as you'll see later, a lot of black's problems that are coming up has to do with the lack of development. The fact that this bishop has not moved, so therefore the rook cannot contribute. Things like that. So I would have loved if black had played bishop e6 in this position, but that didn't happen. Knight b4 was played, knight b5, and then here black played rook to d8. So just as sort of an example, had black played the move bishop e6, if black had played bishop e6, if you play knight d5 here, then black can easily just play rook a to c8, protecting the pawn. And you might think that the rook is a little bit passive on this d8 square, but it's not going to matter here in a few moves after a6, kicking the knight, and then you can just place it on d8 or whatever square you like. Probably d8 would make the most sense, right? So after knight b4, white played the move knight b5, attacking the pawn. Then black played rook to d8, and as you can see, black is still doing fine, but they're walking a very thin line. I mean, suddenly, if you're white, suddenly you just took the pawn, you have this sort of protection going on, maybe the rook goes to the d file, things like that. This knight is sort of offsides, so you sort of have things going for you. Now, black is doing fine after a move like queen e8, which just kind of parks the queen on a innocuous square. I mean, there's not really much going on. You can just develop the bishop, and then if you're white, you don't really have much play going for you. But black played a move which is a mistake. Black played the move queen to d7. Queen to d7, I give 2 question marks because you're blocking the bishop. And as I mentioned earlier, sort of the key theme behind this is lack of development. Black is short on development by 1 move, and yet that's going to cost them. After white plays the move rook to d1. Black plays the move rook to d1 with the idea of attacking the queen, but also the rook and the bishop would link up on the d8 square. So if the queen just moves, then you're getting checkmated. So after rook to d1, black cannot really just move the queen. The only move in this position is either you sack the queen or you play knight d5, which intrudes on the rook's attack of the queen, but the knight is pinned, you put pp on the pp, you play pawn to c4. Pawn to c4, and you attack the knight, and yeah, you're just going to win a piece out of this. The knight cannot move because you take the queen. Whoops. Oh, sorry about that. Didn't mean to spoil that for you. Although I guess the title already spoiled it. If you knew who fell for the Eric Rosen trap, you would know that they lost. So pawn to c4, and it's starting to trend that way anyway. Rook takes d5, and then you start to realize that, yes, black has a queen and white doesn't, but white has a ton of pieces for the queen. If you have a ton of pieces and they can work together, they're going to beat a queen. They're going to beat a queen by far. I mean, here, you're threatening rook d8 mate because the bishop covers the h7 square. So bishop d7 was played to block rook d8. They finally developed the bishop. Black finally developed the bishop, so let's give them a round of applause. But that was just a little bit too late. White played bishop f5, which will win the bishop. Bishop takes d7. And just look at this position. The queen cannot do anything. I mean, you can even take b2 with check, which is what black did. But after king g3, I mean, the queen is off sides. This rook is dominated by the bishops. The only square the rook can go is like f8. So yeah, white is just doing very well in this position. Rook to d4, queen c2, knight d6, queen g6 check, then rook to g4 is a nice move that I like. Queen f6, and then here white found a nice move, knight e8, putting pressure on the queen and the g7 square. Apparently a little bit more accurate is actually to go knight f5, because on knight e8 you actually allow black to sack the rook for the knight and then play queen e7, forking the 2 bishops. But when you say sack the bishop and then move the other bishop, you still have a really good position. Rook and 2 minor pieces for a queen. There might be like a passed pawn you have to worry about, but you should be able to contain it no problem. And white should be winning long term. Now, who knows, in time pressure, anything can happen, especially when one side has a queen and the other doesn't. But knight f5 would have been more accurate, but that's totally okay. Knight e8 was played. I guess it didn't even occur to black to sack the rook. So black just played queen e7, rook takes g7, bishop e5. Now there's just a whole lot of pressure going on. Rook takes e8, queen e6, and then eventually white just won the queen and went on to convert this game effortlessly just don't let this pawn through. And yeah, that was that. That was game. So yeah, I think a couple things can be taken from that. Even though white fell for a trap that they probably won't fall for again, even though they fell for this Eric Rosen style trap, they were still able to come back. So if you look at the progression of the game, white develops the bishop. White puts the pawn out. White develops the other bishop. Rook, knight. And then when the opportunity was right, they pounced. They played knight b5, and then from there was a very difficult situation. So oftentimes if you're down material, especially if you have sort of extra auxiliary material to make up for it, like black is down a queen. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. I keep saying the wrong color. White is down a queen, but they also have an extra bishop and they have an extra knight, and I think an extra pawn or something like that to make up for it. So white has a lot of pieces to make up for it, which makes things very tricky. So you're just walking on a thin line. And then also just development, you know, the fact that this bishop didn't develop really, I would say, cost black the game. And also I think another important lesson to take from this is how well coordinated white was. I'd say for a 1300 level player, they actually handled it well. It can be easy when you don't have a queen to sort of like panic and think that you need a queen in order for the position to be complete, but they were able to do what they could with the pieces they had. I mean, the game wasn't perfect, but ultimately he got the job done. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also feel free to join the Discord in the description, links in the description. My next video, I have a tournament coming up, which will be tonight by the time you're watching this. So I'll probably do a recap either that evening, which would be pretty late, or Thursday morning or something like that, as that will be Independence Day. So happy in advance, happy Independence Day for those who observe. And I think with that said, I think I will let you all go. Just have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.